I'm expecting a lot more from both these teams, and Clubhouse has been a really strong map for both of them. This is going to be a very close one. Just looking at it, I would say this is probably our closest match of the night we'll have. And looking at it Unnamed, they actually played Clubhouse against Secret last week, and they lost 6-4, so they were just almost there. So maybe they'll have an easier time against Guidance, but you know, equally Guidance, they've had some pretty strong performances on Clubhouse as well. I know that's not just because they play it in Prem, but that's just a very strong map in general for them. And already there's going to be the two main bans that we didn't really... We weren't expecting anything else but that.
Were we expecting anything else? No. You mentioned how Maverick is incredibly strong on this map because of his countering to bandit tricks, so he's immediately gone Guidance choosing that one, and that leaves Unnamed kind of forced into doing the Lion as the next one, and so they did. Now the defense ones get a little bit more questionable. Unnamed took a bit of time thinking about what they've gone with. They've gone with Echo. We did see him making a big impact in our opening game of the day. Frau having some great clutch movements with that, and more importantly just the information that he was gathering with those drones. Even when he wasn't shooting with them or shooting himself straight up, he was still very, very useful to his team. But Guidance took a couple of seconds to think about their ban, and their defense ban is locked as Mira as well.
Yeah, so those are probably the four most common that we will have on Clubhouse. Maybe you might see a bit of a difference between Maestro and Echo, or even Maverick and Glaz may be an option, but yeah, these are the main four that perform so well on Clubhouse for a reason. Lion, because of obvious reasons. I don't think we need to talk about how strong he is. Maverick, because he's very good at denying those bandit tricks. Echo, because he's just so good at the intel gathering with the yokai drones and the denial off you have with the plant, and it's a very good counter to operators like Montagna. And then of course Mira, because Mira is so strong with giving you that extra protection, that layer of fallback that you and your team can really prove pretty big in most of those final seconds of pushes.
Sixth pick opportunity then. We do see, bandit change to Doc for Kendrew, and the Thatcher switched out to Glaz for me. I like that switch on the attacking team. Those are two operators which we saw be very important for the attacks from our opening game. You saw them though, they'd either pick the Glaz or they'd drop him for the Thatcher. They didn't do the 6 picks, they didn't flick back and forth, they just had very telegraphed plans of attack to those bomb sites because of who they chose. But Unnamed have just completely switched on the head their plan for attacking this site here against Guidance. You cannot attack the same way with a Glaz as you would otherwise if you had Thatcher involved.
They don't even need the Thatcher. There's not going to be a bandit on the side of Guidance. Instead, they're going
to be fair, didn't know that.
Yeah,
because it was picked before it was switched away, which is something else which I think Guidance would have done on purpose, right? You show the bandit, give it, you have to bandit trick this, now you're stuck. But then Six pick him away and give themselves the utility the Doc brings, while also having the fear factor the bandit would have.
I'm liking the Doc as well. I think Doc's a great operator for particularly that garage and catwalk area. If he starts getting frag grenaded or gets shot down, he can stem himself up. We know as soon as you get downed up in that catwalk, if you're not Doc, it's a lost cause. You're dead. Nobody can go over and revive you. Doc can sit there and can really stem himself back up and give himself that extra health to take more of those fights. But no, he will just give up control of the catwalk very early on. This is the most common strategy that Unnamed like to play, is where they open up the wall, they try and get Jugger in with some of those frag grenades and just basically obliterate anybody inside of catwalk. And then of course the presence of just that Overwatch factor that really Glaz brings to the table is always going to be huge, and that's just going to be enough to scare Guidance away. And they have given up control of the garage and catwalk, and this is where the second stage for Unnamed, and they're going to have to start rotating, getting off these hatches, and also get a couple of picks along the way.
Tank Ninjas kicks us off then, getting the first kill on Vex, takes the Jaeger out of the picture. I was going to say I like these heavy reinforcements on the doors downstairs because it forces the attackers to make it very loud and noticeable when they start to make their way in to this lower floor. But Vex tried to take these fights through the little holes that had been shot open by Tank Ninjas and paid the price for sticking his head into that way. But Kendrew goes and immediately answers back by taking out the Glaz. Mead's off the table as that Doc sticks his head right in front of him. And yeah, he took a couple of shots, as you said. He can stim himself right back up. He's used all of them now, but he's back at full health, and with Glaz off the table, it's a win for the defense.
So more utility being used by Unnamed. They've started to throw in some of those flashbangs, eat up those ADSs, but really at what point? You've lost your class already. I don't know if Jugger has any frag grenades left. Madman, he still has one, so he could try and make good use of that. But at the moment, things have slowed down for the players of Unnamed. They're going to have to play pretty quick on their feet. As Guidance, they still have utility with those smoke canisters, with even the Maestro cameras as well. He is downstairs for some reason. He's going to try and go for a mad rotate. This could be pretty detrimental. Harris may come up against Madman, but no, Mac, he has been killed, but Jugger has the refrag.
Kendrew takes out Mac, but yes, Jugger refrags him straight out. Hayes tried to take a fight elsewhere and took a bit of damage, which is why he had to back away back through the basement, tries to come up through the bar, but shoots that drone, which wasn't, I believe, active. So maybe could have kept it a secret, but there were 2 dead players on the attacking team, so I'm sure someone could have switched to it at any second. He does make his way back upstairs, opens another rotate to try through and flank as the push comes in from the other side. The plant has gone down as Madman takes down Harris as he tries to flank over, and now it's 3 attackers versus 2 defense, and one of those defenders is already low on health. The diffuser is down and the planter got out to safety. Now they've got to deal with the man on the balcony and the man in the garage. Tank Ninja's on the balcony, realizing he doesn't need to stay up there. He can rappel down and hover outside. The crouch peek on towards Jugger. Doesn't actually land the shot it needed as Tank Ninjas will take out Blackout. Hayes will trade him straight back, but Jugger is there to shoot him in the back of the head and secure the round for the attack.
Unnamed, they take a very easy victory for themselves. That was probably one of the best rounds I think that they've had. It was very well coordinated. The pushes was there. They had the defuse, which is always the primary thing on Clubhouse, is you need that plant, because once it goes down, it is so hard for these defenders to really retake, because then you expose yourself to all these different angles that the attackers can play outside, which is primarily the reason why Clubhouse can be very strong for the attackers in that circumstance, because there's so much outside play, and really that's why the bandit trick comes into so much more compared to other maps. So this will then get Guidance off a bit of a rocky going at the moment, and they're going to go for the CCTV room and cash room once again.
But if you look at the difference there from Unnamed's attack to what we saw between Horizon and M&M in our opening game, is that Madman's buck stayed alive down below that site. He killed and challenged the flanker. They had a buck, but they didn't use him like through the floor as much. He did a little bit here and there, but he didn't decimate it. But what he did do was stay alive, and he challenged Hayes, who tried to flank underneath. He didn't allow them to put a man down there to shoot the planter from below or to C4 the planter from below. He just stayed healthy. That didn't happen in Horizon M&M. Horizon got the kills on M&M's downstairs, man. The kill citizen every time. And that allowed the C4 play to stop the plant repeatedly. Whereas there, yeah, okay, there was equal numbers. You got to kill on the glass, you got to kill on a couple people, but the wall was open and you didn't have control of below, so the plant was able to go through, and there was nothing that Guidance could have done to stop the plant. Now, after the plant situation was done, game over, because that crossfire is too strong, and that's what we saw Unnamed ultimately win the round with, because they held Madman alive downstairs for so long.
We'll see switch operators as he is. He will be picking up the Vigil, so more of a roam game could be coming out from Guidance. Then maybe they want to try and counter Madman.
Yeah, look at what he tried to do last game. He tried to late roam, and it nearly worked out for them, but he ran into a drone everywhere he went. That's not going to be a thing anymore. He can run straight past them and not have to worry.
Madman having a little bit of issue trying to get into the dirt tunnel, but this is, he's going to be trying to play that kind of lone role. I know that we talked about in Border, where you can kind of play Maverick in that kind of same sense. You can equally play Buck. He has that destructibility factor where he can just make a surprise hole to either get his way into a room or catch a potential roamer by surprise. Couple more drones going in, and just like last time, the entire catwalk and garage control will be given up by Guidance. They've seen how well Unnamed performed against clearing out that garage against Secret last week, so they did not want to deal with any of that. Instead, they're going to try and opt for that hard anchor positions. But like we've seen, Madman can make quick work of those positions, try and get them shook up. But no, Harris takes the aggressive standpoint, wins that gunfight against Madman. That's going to be a massive kill off the board for Unnamed, and really they're going to have to play out of their mind without that verticality destruction.
So they get the wall open once more. Unnamed have got that site cracked open. The B site is exposed, but as you mentioned, Madman is gone. Hayes is still around somewhere on that vigil. They saw the flashes on their drones a couple of times. They saw the little graphic that indicates he's somewhere nearby, but Glaz is smoking off his push. Does so cut that Legion Mine for a minute or two, waiting for someone to peek it anyway, and now we'll remove it. Kendrew does get the first, or another kill, sorry, for the defense. He takes down Mac here on the Thermite, who was repelling. Glaz's smoke has run out, and Kendrew chooses the perfect time to peek on Jugger, who thought he was peeking from above, but he's below, and Kendrew also gets Meads for that before Tank Ninjas will finally trade him back. That's a huge, huge flank for Kendrew, and now Tank Ninjas is alone against 4. He tries to sprint on in through the smoke grenade. They can hear him though. There's the Jaeger's top of his head. Tank flicks to it. It's a good kill onto Vex. He could do this. He's looking for the next couple. Man comes up through his garage. He sees him and takes him down too. Haze is gone. 2v1 now. Tank Ninja's not a lot of health, but only 2 players to fight. One of them's in that site, and he's got to be aware of this. It's the smoke. He flashes him. Continues to push deeper on through. Jumps on in. Looking for this player. Sees the tag, but it was the wrong body. Blackout peeks just in time as Tank turns his aim away from the door and will clutch the round out for GG.
Very close for Tank. I thought it was looking pretty good, but no, the very smart decision of Smoke rotating. They knew they had eyes on him with the Maestro cameras. They knew that whenever he does jump in towards the bomb site, they'll know about it. And just like that, you know, Kendrew, so big on that Maestro, and once again, it goes all the way back to that first blood that on the aim they lost their buck, they lost that vertical play, they didn't have that same comfort with actually pushing in and trying to take in these fights. We'll have to see if they can bounce back from it, because they will have more of an easier bomb site, and especially whenever they are very heavy on their buck and also their sledge, where they have all this destructibility. That kitchen is going to be a real big prime target for these players to try and open up and really pull off pressure onto anybody who may want to be lurking. No pulse for the players of Guidance. We didn't even see a pulse between our earlier matchup between Horizon and M&M, and Pulse is a really strong operator, not just for this map, but in general. I think he brings a lot to the table. He has that cardiac scanner, which is just a portable wall-banging device. You can find out so much intel about the potential push which may come in. You know, if you see 3 people stacked outside of the Memorial Hatch, which you can see, then you know straight away, yeah, it's going to be the Memorial drop. And if you see a lot of people stacked outside Kitchen and Dirt Tunnel, then you know it's going to be that B push. So, and also C4 from below is always going to be strong with the Kitchen.
Will they be able to pull them off then is the question. Hayes has switched up operators again. He's on to the alibi now. See how they plan to use that gadget. Where they plan to use that gadget, because he's not placed any at the moment. He has been a very mobile player for the last couple of rounds, and has been trying to surprise and stab them in the back. Drops one down at a common spawn peak. Might give them a little bit of something, especially as the shots are already rattling through these windows. But Unnamed right now are droning their way in slowly and carefully, making sure they are cautious, making sure they are not caught by surprise at any side of the map, and they have a player coming from every angle at the moment. So, take them a minute or two to get in, but when they do come, they'll be confident about where they're going. There's a couple of rumors to find, and they do know this. And you can see Tank Ninjas is currently holding the cross right between both halves of the top side of this map, as the drones clear either side. So they know if a player gets droned and goes either way, he will run through Tank Ninjas. But now the Madman is there to replace him in a closer spot, Tank Ninjas can move around. They've started to herd these 2 roamers into the top of Cash Room and CCTV, and they know it now because the drones are going in too. You can see Jaeger shooting these drones and running away. You can see the shots rattling through from Jugger and Meads as they help join in and push these players into a corner.
This is what I like from Unnamed. They are very strong in the way that they like to operate with these pushes. They try and get so many angles and really pinch you. And that's exactly what you do as a very strong attacking team, which Unnamed have always been this season. And just like that, both of the roamers will be dead with inside the first half of the round. And this, you may think, oh yeah, they've wasted half of the round. This is still plenty of time for Unnamed to then rotate on down and start using the destructibility factor. I'm sure Tank is going to start getting rid of those Habana pellets, but no, maybe not so as Kendrew.
Let Kendrew do this again. Twice now, he's been the aggressive Maestro. Last round, he picked up a lot of kills doing it. Gets the opening one here. If they let him get more, he can undo all the damage they did in that early push. Picking up those 2 kills was great, and as you say, with a minute and a half left, even better. But if they start losing people now, it could fall apart. Meads does not have a lot of health, and he's not going to be able to take much of a fight. Kendrew, thankfully for Unnamed, has fallen back to a slightly more defensive position, not pushing his luck for that extra kill just yet. Jugger pushing through the construction tunnel. The drones do now to start check out the lower site. 45 seconds on the clock, though there's still time for this. The kitchen hatch is staying sealed, as I do believe all the thermite charges have been used. Yeah, the other one was using the bar hatch.
Yeah, they lost Tank.
They did. Tank Ninjas cannot open it up with the Hibana, so they can't thermite it, and they can't Hibana charge it. Mate is close to that tunnel entrance. There's a leash mine on the door, though. He's not aware of it. Don't know if it landed in the perfect spot, or if he might actually be able to sneak past it. But Kendrew does pick up the kill onto Mead now. The numbers are even, but as the push starts to come on in with 15 seconds to go, looking in the right direction is Jugger, but Harris wins the fight all the same. Madman will get Kendrew down, but Blackout will immediately trade it back by killing Mac. Madman is now alone, does not have a lot of health. He's got to kill 2, but he won't even get 1. Blackout once again with the last kill of the round puts Guidance Gaming comfortably up.
Guidance solely won that round because Kendrew made the very risky play of going for that late rotate. If he managed to not kill Tank, and Tank had got open that kitchen hatch, then Legion would never have been able to sit underneath the hatch and get that easy kill onto the sledge coming in through that dirt tunnel. So it really shows you that, sure, you clear out the room game, Clubhouse still has that very nature where anybody could spring up the staircase at any time. You could either be the blue or it could just be the main stairs, which is probably the last place you would expect somebody to be. So just that little bit of sloppiness from Unnamed has really let them down. And well, Guidance, they take the lead moving into their third bomb site. It will be the gym and bedroom. Still no barn stock. Instead, we're going to see the third picked bomb site for them. And just like last time, not too much of a change on the defensive lineup.
No, and it was clear how much killing Tank Ninjas affected Unnamed's attack. Not just because, as you say, he couldn't get the hatches open, but because not having those hatches open really slowed down their attack. They got those first 2 kills with a minute and a half to go. That's a lot of time to push that downstairs site. But then they lost Tank Ninjas, and suddenly they were out of ideas. Like, well, now what do we do? How do we get in? Well, we can't get through the hatches. Well, we got to drone a bit more, or we're a bit slow. And then suddenly there's 15 seconds left, and they've all just trying to charge into guns, and they couldn't win the trade fight, despite having technically the man advantage, because Kendrew was the man that opened up the killing onto Meads and leveled things straight back out. They didn't do what they needed to be done. Now it's time for Guidance Gaming to step upstairs, and Unnamed have been doing great in the first few moments of the round, the first halves of these rounds, opening up the kills, getting the openings they need in the thermite walls, killing out these roamers. But then they crumble to Kendrew's timings, Kendrew's pushes, Kendrew's flanks. They need to lock that down and not let him get away with it again.
So Unnamed, they have decided to drop the buck entirely and go for more of a utility operator with the capo being picked up. Has those asphyxiating bolts, which can be good to cut off some of these areas inside of the corridor. If you can land a good one over towards main stairs, it kind of eliminates that factor of somebody peeking you from that very common spot. But then also those smoke arrows will be very strong in that final push into the bomb site. You can really sanction off a lot of these players from those different lines of sight that they may want to try and play over towards construction, where you do see 2 players actually aggressively roaming, so they're going to try and deny access towards that east side. But at the moment, Unnamed, they have no intention of really playing that area of the map. Instead, more of the pressure towards that jacuzzi balcony over towards the west side, and already the drones get sent in. They're starting to stack up, and this will be a very close round for Unnamed if they can really get everything going. They need to have somebody at least go into office, because if you don't have somebody in office, then you don't have that. Also another point of contention with that very final pinch, and we're going to see a very risky thermite charge from Mac, and he manages to get away with it. Blackout did not hear the charge being placed, and this is going to be absolute hell for Guidance, as this is going to be a complete line of sight into bathroom. Flashbang goes in, Blackout tries to run, but Mage follows in right behind him. He will have to play very quick on his feet as well, so he will be in the thick of it, ready to try and take on these players. And looking at it, Guidance are so scared about the map, I don't know if they can retake the bomb site at this stage.
Kendrew just dropped down to below, and it's hard to rotate back up because that wall's open, so he's got to go the long way, which he's now going with Harris. They are trying to surprise. They've opened up that back window. They might get an eye on one, but Hayes has been taken down now by Mac from a distance. Mac's dropped through the hatch, and Kendrew will see and take him down. That's Jugger, actually, that's gone. Now Mac to the window, but Kendrew will fall down as Madman gets that out. He's now back to watching the way behind us. He knows there's one more. It's Harris on this Legion. The drop has, diffuser has gone down. Harris throws one out, jumps out, and immediately kills Madman, who didn't fall for the Legion mine throw bait, but still falls to that firefight. Good job by Harris, but he's still going to make his way back. Vex is going to need his help. The Vex will fall down. Harris comes in, does trade straight back, but there's still 1 to find, or 2 to find technically, but 1 was in the site. That 1 has now made a move outside. Harris is going to set back up and reload. Pre-fires a couple of corners, needs to find out where these last players are, does go to the window, jumps on out, does find one, but Mac has the more health and will win that fight. to give the attackers a round. Unnamed, losing that man in the bathroom, had no answer to it, and as you said, retaking the site, they had nothing.
Yeah, Unnamed, they thought about where the resources primarily were aimed towards the guidance, and that was over towards that east side. They had a lot of players inside of construction. They knew if they just want to try and attack as quickly as they could and just straight away pretty much rush. That was a bit of a rush. You know, they were in the bomb site by half the rounds. It was, I've never seen that Thermite charge try and be deployed.
So you say you don't think Blackout heard it, but I think he did. Because when the EMP goes off, yes, the EMP goes off, and then you hit Thermite and he did edge. He sort of went towards the hole, and he's like,
no way.
There's two things went through his head. Yeah, it was like either there is no way he's doing what I think he's doing right now, or if I do peek this, I'm gonna get my head.
I would have been the first option.
It should have been me. You kind of have to peek it, because even if they do blow your head off when you do it, we saw the result of what happens when the wall gets open. So if by some pure chance you can jump out of there and you get the shotgun off before your head gets blown away, that's the best possible outcome in that situation. As it was, the minute that wall got open, he was doomed. There was no getting away from it.
Flashbang came in, Meads fall right behind it, and that was easiest. Unless you're Smoke as well, that's a massive player off the board. And then it was so simple for Madman to say, oh, there's 3 people towards this west side, I cover 1 window, and they cannot take the bomb sight back.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah, so we'll obviously get those players back into the lobby as soon as possible. We saw 1 player disconnect towards the end of that round. He was already dead when it happened, so thankfully didn't impact that round, but we'll get them back in and remake it from where we were. Talking more about it though, as you say, we saw, and I asked for it at the start of the round, we saw Kendrew try and go for that late rotate. Okay, we've started to lose the site, started to lose the numbers advantage. I'll drop down, come up from behind, I'll bring Harris with me. Get a second player come with me, and maybe that way we can, you know, do some damage as a pair. But no, still had Mac on the window, still had Madman on the window. Locked it down, took them both out. Great shots and great fighting from Madman to make it happen. But they did finally realize that this is how Kendrew's going to play this. If they start to fall behind, he's going to do something unexpected, something different. He's going to try and get us from somewhere else. And they were ready for it. And it worked out for them. And it was great.
Yeah, it was, I think Kendrew really has stepped up. We've seen this from him. He's got a lot of kills. And, you know, on Maestro as well, it's not a very aggressive roamer role where you would expect Jaeger or Bandit to do a lot of your heavy lifting. But no, Maestro still has a very strong gun, even though he did get his Alda tweaked just a little bit inside of those mid-season changes. Can't really hip fire as well as what he could, but still a very strong operator. We've seen that not just in the playstyle, but still the ban rates. And Maestro's still very up there with being, you know, high banned along with Mira and Echo as well. So Maestro's a very good fit for a player like Kendrew, who does have that kind of versatile, where he has a very strong aim on himself, and also that potential roam game where he likes to play those kind of upfront and aggressive operators, and he's doing it with Maestro.
So looking through to the next round, which will be the final round of this half, we've got Unnamed back on the attack, 2-2 now. Going into the second half, are Unnamed okay being down 3-2, or do they need this win? Do they need to go into the defense ahead?
I think they need this 3-2. They have looked a lot more of a stronger team on their attacks than they have on their defense. They haven't brought out the Montagne, which has been a big staple for their clubhouse attacks. It is those shield operators that Madman plays. But Madman, after the pretty poor performance that he had last week, which I believe he did 1-7, he's then decided to flick off and go for these more aggressive roles, and like we've seen, it's worked a lot more better for him. He's starting to play more of that flex utility role, that capo, the buck, potentially IQ if he's called upon, if there's too much utility that they need to deal with. But really, they need this 3-2 advantage going into it, because then they kind of have that safety net, that fallback. Guidance, they have also looked pretty okay on the attacks, so I still would nudge them more off a defensive side, but whenever they have players that are like Kendrew, who then has a go on his main operator, his Buck, who he can really do a lot of damage, not just with the destructibility, but just in terms of using that C8 to really gun down anybody he comes against. And yeah, Guidance may have that little bit more of a leeway going into their attacks.
Is it really fair calling Guidance a defensive team based on this game? Maybe in previous things, I would say so, but here, their defenses hasn't actually been great. They've just been salvaged by Kendrew stepping up and doing the damage when it's needed. And you could see there on rounds where he couldn't do that, they crumbled pretty easily.
I still think that Unnamed is just generally a better attacking side. That's probably the kind of giveaway that you have with that, is Unnamed have looked devastating. Some of these rounds that these guys have played throughout the season, their attacks have been on point. I've really enjoyed watching them play. They have a very simple but aggressive and unique kind of play style where, yeah, you can see exactly what they're going to do, but they execute it so well.
So, the last round of this half here in the ESL Premiership Series, powered by Intel and the Gaming from Curry's PC team, shows us Unnamed versus Guidance in that tight neck and neck 2-2 scoreline. We've got a Dokkaebi coming out for the first time here on the attack from Unnamed. They've actually switched up quite a bit of their operators here on this this attack. They're going back up. They don't know right now, obviously, to CCT and Cash, but they are not bringing the Hibana to the table. They've only got the one piece of Breach to go with it. They were teasing the idea of 6 picking, but ultimately stayed with their Thatcher.
So we will have, you know, more of the kind of similar playstyle that Guidance have. They really haven't changed up their operators too much. I think it's just been Hayes has been the only person that's actually kind of flexed off operators. You know, he's been there on the Vigil as well. But no, Mute is actually going to be picked up. Maybe they want to try and deny some of the drones that may come in from the catwalk area. But then again, you know, Thatcher's there, Thatcher's alive, can use those EMP grenades to eliminate that factor. No Hibana as well, only one form of hard breach this time, as they've kind of had a bit of a jumble up with bringing that Thatcher and also the Dokkaebi for the first time being brought out to play. This is going to be a bit of an interesting one, as both of these teams have chosen different lineups for this particular bomb site. I think the Unnamed may have had a little bit of a misstep, actually not picking the buck for the cash room, because we've seen how good Manman can really go in towards that stock room, open up below the players of Guidance, and it gives, you know, the players of Unnamed a lot more of an easier footpath in towards the top of that catwalk.
It's also interesting to see, and I know they were changed recently, but he is using that CZ75 over the SMG12 as well. So he's not going to be, I mean, maybe he prefers it and he's better with it, but it's also something that makes me think that his I'm sorry, that band makes me giggle.
That's a good one.
That's
I think that might be a clip worthy, is it?
That's yeah, that one caught me. All right.
I've never seen Lion play for G2.
So we do.
Never seen Lion in G2 lineup before.
Lion, G2 always banned Lion, and now
they're the most
against
team against Lion, and
exactly.
It's been banned.
Exactly.
They're happy about that. They'll be happy.
They will. They will. That keeps them there. There's the fire starts to come on through. Kendrew, we saw already tried to get aggressive and took some damage for it. Jugger there is actually confused a little bit as to where that shot was coming from. He does finally figure out it was behind him, but it was not enough to finish him off, as Vex now has to make his way back to the site. I do like this. Unnamed are good at clearing the map, and they're good at droning around it, and then they push their site. But Vex let those drones go, let those drones happen, and then now starting to push out. So the Unnamed team aren't as comfortable with the parts of the map they had previously cleared anymore. So they've got to rethink it all over again and double check those spots. And now the fights and the people they are spotting aren't going down, so they've got to be more careful with this. Harris actually kicks it off by taking down Tank Ninjas. That's a Zafir off the board. Now Harris is still pretty healthy afterwards as well. This is looking good here. There's only a minute left to go, so Guidance having the man advantage and still having heavy control over the actual bomb site is looking good for them. I'm a little bit confused by the fact they brought this Mute back upstairs. Now they do have his C4 in him, and they're making this hole here from throw it over the top, but he could have done that just as well from below. They've got a micro camera in the spot that can point out the planter, and he could have done it through the structural floor, but they don't need it because Kendra is taking down Mac already as he tries to jump through the window onto the site. Didn't take any damage for that one, but they do sprint a man in from the construction balcony. They've got him into behind the A site, but the smokes are going out as Vex picks up a double kill onto Madman and Jugger, leaving just Meads hanging on the edge of this balcony alone against 5.
This should be pretty easy for Guidance. If they lose this, well, I'll be shocked. I don't think that'll be the case, as really from this stage, they know where he is, and just like that, Kendrew, another kill for him, just goes for just a run out as well. Pretty simple for Guidance, a quick cleanup, and this is where it starts to get pretty good for Guidance, and especially the way that the standings are kind of planned out. This is a massive match. If Unnamed beat Guidance, then Unnamed go ahead of Guidance in the standings. And if Guidance win this, well, they could be on for potentially the 2nd place or the 3rd place. That could happen. And I would say really for Guidance, Vexed, and Unnamed, it's kind of the race to see who will get 3rd seeded. Because if you look at the standings, whoever gets that 3rd seed will pretty much either play Barrage or Horizon. And you kind of think, okay, that should be a pretty simple win for them in the playoffs.
Yeah, that should secure your spot at LAN. But there is still, you know, a lot of maybes that could go down in amongst that mix and a lot of surprise outings that it could cause. A couple of 6 picks going through again then, the Legion being switched away. Oh. Yeah, Legion being switched back to Bandit then for Tank Ninjas. And we did see Zofia brought in here for guidance on their attack. That guidance attack is a very aggressive setup with Glaz and Zofia in the mix, but they did go with double breaches and the Thatcher to make sure they can get the walls that they need open. We'll see whether their attack here of CCTV and Cash is as controlled as Unnamed. Now Unnamed did lose that last round, but they had a couple of confident attacks on this to begin with, and it was Guidance adapting that dealt with that. Guidance, can you start out as dominant on your attacks?
Guidance, you know, you said you have the Glaz there, which is a very strong operator, that very big power player, but you're not bringing any other operators with smoke grenades. You're not supporting that Glaz. He only has 2 at his capability, and for example, if those get eaten up by a potential ADS, then yeah, you're just bringing the Glaz with no real pushing power behind him, doesn't have the utility, and that's where you kind of run into issues with bringing these operators that, if you're not going to support them, it just leads to nothing.
But they need him to be a push potential after those injuries. Oh, Jugger kicked it off, taking him out. Never mind. I was going to say, once he's in the garage and on the catwalk, he can just hold along Andor. It doesn't need smokes for it. But it doesn't matter, because Jugger's taking him out of the game, so he's gone.
It's just more the smoke grenades to actually clear that catwalk, which is really what you need. And if those ADSs scattered about the garage and those eat them up, well then, exactly what Jugger just did, can just peek at Glaz, who will always win that gunfight because he has the better weapon, and Glaz only has the OTS. So, looking at it already, the wall has also been opened by the players of Guidance. No Bandit trick coming down from Tank as he was pressured very heavily, of course, with that ever so looming presence of Zofia, who could try and get a couple of charges in. Kendra, however, does equal back with a kill onto his own as Jugger. He will be put back, so Doc off the board. No long-range stim pistols will come off it. Tank refrags, but Harris pushing aggressively, and Madman from the catwalk, which was left unprotected from the flank watch. Mead still up and alive, so that means the Maestro cameras can be used for that quick bit of intel. And of course, that Alva can always throw a lot of rounds down in towards the bomb site. Blackout, the last remaining survivor of that bloodbath that did happen a couple of seconds ago outside, trying to see if he can at least pull it into a 2 versus 2, which could be clutchable. But saying that, Vex on very low HP with still half the round to go. This could really swing either way. If Blackout manages to get the pick onto Madman, then yeah, I could see this being clutchable. But if Madman manages to, just like that, get at least 1 kill, a 1 versus 3, and they know exactly where Blackout will be, sure, he has the Elliot, but then the 416 and also Meads with the Al can easily spray down the Thatcher. Still a minute to go, but just peeking back and forth. As you can see, Maestro toying with Blackout as he does fall, and Unnamed, they take their first defense against Guidance.
Yeah, those early kill onto the Glaz kind of pulled apart the attack from Guidance as they tried to come in. Then there was a couple of other quick back and forth, and we did see some kills going Guidance's way, but Unnamed did not let it go unpunished. They were quick to step back up and trade it away again, so they made sure they kept that man advantage every chance they got, and that's a great way to defend. It's all very well to hold your angles and sit in your corners, and it can work out for you to do that, but when you have that lead, thanks to Jugger's early pick, you do want to keep that lead, so don't let them get their free kills. If they do step up and kill one of your dudes, step out on them. Don't just hold your angle, step out and trade them back. Be confident in your shots, and they did it, and it worked out beautifully for them. And they kept that lead going, and ultimately then win the round. Now, they have to switch things up though, and they're going to Church and Arsenal for it, as they do head down into that predictable basement selection. 6 pick this time not being utilized, I believe, by both teams. They have stuck to what they picked. Jugger staying to his dock, which is definitely a staple of that man's roster. And, well, we saw Wyatt the early half of that last map as well. And the attacking roster also identical for Guidance, despite switching up to this other site. And that just shows how versatile and strong those 5 operators can be. But as you mentioned, still a lack of smokes for the Glaz. So once he's used those first 2, he's going to be very static, and I need to see him get hard control of that, I'd hope, construction tunnel, maybe blue, with those first 2 smokes, or he is going to be punished. And against a Legion in that construction tunnel, that's a tough ask.
Yeah, there's a couple of options you can go for if you want to bring the glass. Like you said, construction in blue is always going to be an option. Really has that massive pushing power with a one-way corridor. You have the cover of the smoke, but then also we have seen sometimes people want to keep that utility and use the glass for a final push in towards the bomb site, maybe dropping the hatches, or even if Guidance managed to pull off the church wall push, then yeah, glass can be very strong. You can open up a direct line of sight using that OTS, put down a lot of firepower on your side of the attack. More unlike, I would say, for both these teams, they're not really accustomed to going for those church wall pushes. You're more expecting just more of get the hatches open and you have that final collapse, because they are more coordinated than what we did see from our previous matchup between M&M and Horizon.
The first few drones have been used and cleared, and the spots have been passed off. Now Vex can continue to check a bit deeper as the rest of Guidance coming to back him up. There's 3 players pretty stacked up on the entrance there, but Vex wants to push in aggressively as he saw a man on this corner, but he actually got a bit blocked by his team, but has now continued to push and check the extra corners. They are out and away. The Havana charges have started to go off on the hatches and are beginning to open everything up, but the thermite charges are still being... Actually, one of those was used on... Okay, so they still had a spare Havana charge, but they used a thermite charge on the kitchen hatch instead. So where is the third... the third Havana charge going to use? And where is the second thermite charge? The other thing to note here is this hatch, this blue hatch, was reinforced before Kendra blew it open. That's arguably a wasted reinforce these days by the defensive team, because getting into blue is so easy for the attacking team thanks to that extra pass now. You even see they didn't at any point put a player in there themselves. They didn't hold that. They just gave it up. So you've just wasted a reinforcement on that spot where the floor was guaranteed to get open no matter what. And yeah, okay, maybe you could say they used up a banner charge on it, but to be fair, they've not brought any other way to open it up, and they would probably use a banner charge on it even if it wasn't reinforced anyway. But with a minute to go now, Guidance Gaming are slowly gathering all the information that they need on where these defenders are hiding downstairs. There's a lot of them stacked up around blue. Jugger and Madman close by. We've also got tank ninjas there, but Kendrew does pick up the first kill onto Madman as he pushes deeper in. Kendrew still on the other side of this wall. Harris now is going to push in through Church, but Vex is now fighting with Jugger. They do know there's right on the other side of the wall. Harris pushes in to take down tank ninjas in Church. Backs away for safety. Does pick the diffuser back up again. Sprays through the tear, make sure there's no one there. Steps in to try and plant, but there is a Legion mine to delay it. Can they get some kills here to make it count? No, Hayes is there to cover and Jugger will fall. Mac now is alone. He's in the Church, but Vex finds him, and that was a beautiful attack for Guidance Gaming.
Yeah, very good execution, and that's kind of what I was expecting with Guidance, where they have that final conjunction of everybody just completely flooding the bomb site. The players of Unnamed can do nothing to stop that. And well, Guidance, they take, once again, the lead. They have the 4-3 advantage. One more round, and they get a much-needed point. And certainly that will pry away that potential overtaking of Unnamed inside of the scoreboard. It's still all the play for Unnamed. Could easily pull it back and try and secure themselves the win, but they will have to win 3 rounds on the trot to get all 3 of those points. It will be a very big ask, but Unnamed, we have seen them in the late game really start to perform whenever they need to. The momentum starts to build, the confidence really grows in these players, and especially for a team on the end where I would say out of everybody, they're the team which has more of that kind of legacy with them, where you have these certain players that teams are expecting to live up. Of course, this is excluding Secret, who we're just expecting to, to walk the league anyway. But for players that are like Tank, players that are like Mead and Jugger, who have been about the PC scene for so long, this is a real task for them to really prove and say, yeah, why we were the year 1 pros, the year 2 pros, and even for Mac and Madman, who have such a legacy inside of the ESL Premiership, winning it the first time around and then coming over to PC. A lot of players have hoped for Madman and Mac to really be as dominant as once they were on Xbox. So they do have more of that pressure, I would say, kind of staring down at them just from the entire community.
That's very true, but talking to Tank Ninjas beforehand, he seems very proud of the fact that they only practice once a week. But,
yeah, I know that.
But they still seem to do very well for a team that only practices once a week, and they are definitely not a team to be shrugged off. Guidance Gaming may have the lead now, and they may have had a couple of decent attack rounds on them, but they cannot sleep on this. They've still got plenty of chances here for Unnamed to swing this back. Remember, They can get all 3 points out of this if Unnamed win every round from here on out. But Guidance Gaming will be well aware that all they need is 1 round to secure a point from this game. They are now making their way in. A couple of Pro League skins on these guns, looking beautiful as well. They have
up, bro.
Drone their most of their way in. They will now begin to open up some of the other hatches. Thermite charge once again used on that bar hatch, so definitely a conscious decision. As Kendrew opens up the kitchen hatch and they begin to push their way further down and into the site again. I remember last time around, they waited till the last few moments and just took their time with it all. And then just straight brute forced their way in, to be fair. Like, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't coordinated, it was just like, we'll peek here and get a kill. And then you'll cover me and I'll plant. And then you'll peek here and you'll cover me. And it worked every time because there was no peek back, there was no trades from Unnamed to try and contest it. Each fight was taken one at a time at the pace that Guidance Gaming set. That needs to change. The batteries are still on this wall. Camera's being shot, and here comes the EMP. Harris starts planting a thermite charge. It is going to get battery tricked, but the Hibana charges are going to go off. Oh, he cancelled it! And the Hibana charges are going off on the other side, so they'll both get open. But he does get peeked. Tank Ninjas gets one, and Meads gets another, but Kendrew will trade Meads straight back. But it is a man advantage for defense. Tank Ninjas didn't take any damage for his kill, so it's a great one for them, as Kendrew also took a little bit before he managed to kill Meads. So the attacking team did start out very well, but might not be in such good standing now. They've still got a minute to go though, can stop, take stock, and come back in a moment for this attack.
The main thing that Unnamed have against the players of Guidance is Mac is still alive. With those smoke canisters, can try and deny the access of Vex down this blue tunnel as long as he can. Vex somehow managed to dodge and dip and dive around all these shots being deployed by Unnamed, but no, shotgun will put him in the grave. Upstairs, Blackout has had to revive Kendra. He did get down from the hatch. Blackout will run straight into his demise as Madman just lurking in the shadows of the staircase. Sees another one. He picks up a double kill to finish things out in Unnamed. Well, we said they need to take 3 rounds on the trot to take all 3 points, and they've already started off pretty well with a very good hold on the downstairs defense.
It started to go a little bit wrong with that poor battery trick not quite working out, but a quick reaction from Tank Ninjas and Meads together, aggressively peeking it instead, getting some kills to their name and actually giving them that lead and the advantage despite losing that huge amount of control from the wall being opened. Managed to stabilize the round for them, and then yes, as you say, Madman taking advantage of them falling back upstairs to revive Kendrew because they knew he got down above, they just couldn't finish him. Getting aggressively in position on that staircase again, not letting them reposition back into that spot where they had the control and shutting them down. And yeah, the control over blue as well. Vex did begin to book down there. And admittedly, he may have been a bit unlucky on the shots towards Mac's smoke. He wasn't quite landing them or getting the damage out that he perhaps deserved, but they did make the most of it with that not happening. Jugger helping out Mac to distract Vex a little bit longer, and then the shotgun was there, of course, to make it an easy cleanup at that close range. But the 6th picks have come through. We've gone from a Legion to a Valkyrie on Unnamed's defense, and we went from the Zofia to a Dokkaebi on Vex. I like that idea because the entire counterplay that Unnamed just pulled off for their defense, admittedly different side now, but the entire counterplay of that disappears if their phones were ringing during that entire aggressive moment, that entire push and the thermite charges and such from Guidance. So just that little bit of a change where Dokkaebi can perform a similar role to Zofia, pushing down that long angle, using that DMR range to be that solo pusher, but still affecting everyone else on the map with the phone calls. Really impacts the way their attacks could play out.
5 seconds remain.
Yeah, Dokkaebi still a very strong operator inside of the meta. We have seen her get banned a little bit, not too much compared to the other attacking operators. Can kind of fill that role of the line where you have that universal ability. Just helps with that. Either the early execution of the room clear out or that final execution of the push into the bomb site for the plant. Really, that's why teams use it, is one logic bomb for the rumors and then the final one for that aggressive nature into the bomb site. At the moment, we do see Unnamed have just a very standard hold, nothing really out of the ordinary. You have Tank actually playing the Valkyrie, could look for a potential risky C4 right up on top of the balcony, and he does just that as Kendrew gets blown off the face of the balcony and can still play very aggressive from below. It kind of has to make Guidance worry about another potential run out that Valkyrie could perform. Also, Unnamed, they still have control of the garage. One up top and also one on the bottom. And Madman, he will lose his life. Actually, not his life, is we will see the Doc and the Stim Pistol used to great effect. That's a great bit of utility used by Jugger. This is exactly why you bring the Doc. Not just because Doc is great at simply playing upstairs in the catwalk, because like we said, you can revive yourself, you can give yourself extra health, but just the fact that it's a very, very open map. And what, like I just said, another great use of Jugger using the Stim Pistol, picks himself back up and can still play an absolute menace here inside of the catwalk. The last bit of utility from Glaz will be expended. The last smoke canister, he has to make it count as Madman has eliminated Vex from below. Two players outside off the balcony, one also outside off the single doorway, and everybody falls. Last minute will be Blackout, 1 versus 5. Gets 1 kill for his troubles, but really at what cost? Not cost at all, as Meads will pick up the final kill on Unnamed. Well, they managed to scamper a draw from this matchup, and they are looking very strong in getting all these free points.
I really like that use of Maestro camera and Doc combination. The Maestro camera sat there in the smoke on the door, so he could have called out when Glaz came on in for that second push. And as you mentioned, the Doc reviving himself through Glaz's shots. A little bit unlucky that they actually landed to begin with. It did look like they were going past him, but it clipped his shoulder, I'd imagine. But then, of course, the revive makes him a little bit more invulnerable, gets him back up, makes him fight again. But then, of course, yes, the Maestro camera blocking the next smoke coming in, and they had, yeah, a crossfire from the balcony. It was great. The Blackout out there could have stopped Doc running through, but he missed his shots. Doc got himself stuck in the corner, and then Meads was there to pin Blackout in. Blackout couldn't push forward aggressively, instead couldn't really make anything from that edge because Meads has him cut off. It was a great use of those two players working together to keep control over that garage area. Now then, 5 rounds, as you said, to Unnamed. They could still take all 3 here, and you mentioned how big it is for them if they do it. They could be pushing themselves towards the LAN final, or at the very least 1 step closer if they pull it off. They might still have to go through the playoffs, but they really need these 3 to make it easier for them. Guidance Gaming, of course, on the verge and in a slightly better spot as we headed into this game, but really do not want to slip down underneath it as we are so close to the end of the season.
So looking at these lineups, Unnamed, they haven't changed all too much. Meads is the only one who has decided to pick up the Vigil, so potentially that roam game over towards the construction and cash room area could be the option that they want to try and opt for. I'm saying that we're going to see Jugger rotating in towards that strip club area, so we may see a potential spawn pick. Is this something that you really want to be doing whenever this could, you know, kind of provide you that potential third seated position he's looking for? But as we knew, there was a drone actually looking over towards that west hallway, doesn't see anything, and I'm sure he will give up his troubles, but no, sees the Ash, tags up. He is just a tad, but wow, that was that could have been pretty detrimental there on the side of Guidance if they did lose their first initial aggressor, as of course Ash is so big for trying to clear out those rumors.
So it could have been the round locked in the bag for Unnamed if he'd have got that kill. Could have secured them 3 points right there, and you mentioned it before, and I mean, I asked about it before too. How likely is it we see the team go for these crazy aggressive peaks? And you mentioned Vex do it every single time, but Unnamed, in Jugger especially, have a player who is not afraid to do it and not unable to do it. But this time falls a bit short. The defense, though, is continuing to hold. There's only 2 minutes left on the clock now for the attack to really shape up, and they haven't really done much about actually getting in. They're starting to Thatcher and Thermite or Hibana the hot tub wall, which, as we mentioned, is important, but they're taking a long time to get it done. Margaret will two-punch that jump out window. Zafira is actually out there on her drone, so it could be an option, but he doesn't know this. Hayes, meanwhile, will take down tank ninjas elsewhere. That's the Valkyrie gone. Meads inside the bathroom, does run out of his anti-drone protection. Max still tucked in the corner with his shotgun in hand, is trying to open up an angle in towards the site. Jugger is trying to find a way to make himself useful. Wants to do it, he's going to do it. Now's the time. It does land it up with Mac, and he will trade Mac's life. But is it too much to lose that smoke at this point in the game? He is a big operator and hadn't used any of his charges, I believe. With 1 minute and 10 to go, they now know Vigil is definitely in their bathroom. He's still got 2 impact grenades, which he could use to his advantage at some point soon. But with a minute to go, Guidance are definitely looking good here.
Yeah, a very good kill for Jugger. Great bit of timing there for Mac, but really, in the words of our famous Milos, the Maestro medic, I would still say at what cost? That's kind of, you look at it, you trade a smoke for the Sophia, and especially in these kind of dire straits moments where you need that denial. Harris eliminates Maids, another kill for Guidance as Blackout eliminates Jugger. Down the Madman, 1 versus 4. Downs, he is on the stairs, he sees the Habana, goes for the shots, but no, doesn't manage to land anything. Doesn't even manage to land one onto Ash, and Kendrew cleans up house. And this will be our first draw of the evening. Guidance Unnamed going the full distance, and it will end 5 rounds apiece. And yeah, that's a pretty, I would say, good representation of the way that we thought both these teams were going to be. It ends in a very level playing field, and really, that's, I would say, points drop for Unnamed the way they were playing on those defense.
I want to hear from them and find out why Mac jumped out where he did. We'll talk to them later and figure it out, but like throwing your smoke away like that to jump out on their back didn't seem to have any logic behind it. They might have had a Valkyrie out there to know she was there, and maybe they wanted him to perhaps distract for Jugger's jump out, but if all he'd have done is say punch the window or smash the window, that would have got the attention just enough for
fired a shotgun blast.
Yeah, fired a shotgun blast out. That would have been the attention. He didn't need to throw his life away to do it, I didn't think. Or maybe it was just mistiming. Maybe Jugger was meant to go first and Mac thought he was closer to the window. I don't know, but I feel like that was definitely the turning point in that round.
Oh yeah.
Where
you lose your smoke. That's the bottom line.
They started to be unwinnable for them. And yeah, it's a shame because they did a lot to get those 2 extra rounds to bring themselves back up to that match point, but Guidance Gaming will definitely be happy with taking 1 away from them.
So great couple of plays as well from Kendrew, really the standout man, if not, I would say the MVP of the match. Had really good moments of glory there for him and his team. This was a bit of a questionable one. I'm surprised that Mead stopped that. Maybe he took his finger off the gadget deployment just a little bit too soon. Yep. And somehow he still managed to get away with a kill and does do a bit of damage to Kendrew. But really, this was a great defense from Unnamed. They had a lot of good synergy between each other. They were really bouncing off each other. They had the flow Madman with good double kill onto the final 2 remaining members. And then just like you said, the jump out, this was that was the play. That was, I would say, the one that cost them that 3 points. That was it.
Yeah, I really feel like that was the one. If Smoke was still in the play there, still in a situation, say if Jugger jumped out, killed him, great. If Smoke was then still alive, he could have smoked out that the gym and bathroom area. They couldn't have got in. There was no way they could have got through and planted. And I feel like it could have been the entire game there for them with him still standing. Even if Jugger jumped out and then perhaps died, I think they could have been in a better spot with just Mac alive and Jugger dead perhaps, because yeah, Smoke is that influential at that point, whereas the Jugger Doc less so. Yeah, he's a gun and he's a great shot, but the Doc itself, the revive and the heal, wasn't going to come into play at that point in the round because of how late it was and because of how long it takes to actually use the heal and land the heals, and you know the positions you're going to put yourself in to make it work. You weren't going to use them at that point in the game, so you needed those smoke grenades instead, and that definitely came back to hurt them.
Yeah, you even had the shock on there in that kind of close range scenario, which would have helped out. And even looking at it, did they really have to go for the jump out?
They didn't have to at all.
Couldn't Smoke have just sat in the bed where it's a bit of a blind spot for the Sophia? Smoke then could have denied access to that bathroom push. In hindsight, it's 2020, we are only seeing it from our perspective. It may be different inside of the game, but really looking at it from Unnamed standpoint, they still take away a much needed point that they needed, but in their eyes, yeah, it's definitely 3 points that they dropped. And like I said, Guidance and Unnamed are still trying to fight for that third place spot to try and get that easier playoff match.
Yep.